Asking for help isn't a weakness, it's a strength. Hey, what's shaking, bacon? Today's topic is something I think a lot of people can relate to. A lot of people are looking for ways to better their carnivore journey. Some people get amazing results right off the bat. They start carnivore and in 6 months they lost 130 pounds. That's great for them. Often that happens to younger people in their 20s, maybe their 30s, but people in their 40s and 50s, especially premenopausal women or menopausal women, it's a different story. That's sort of the category where I'm at. I'm at the category of, someone who's pushing 50 years old and at the same time isn't getting all the results I need. So I've lost 150 pounds doing this carnivore diet. So I still have a ways to go. I have about 80 pounds or so to go. So what I'm looking for isn't so much pounds, but inches. I want to get down to maybe a 36 jeans, maybe a 38-inch jeans. I'm satisfied with that. At that point, I'll reassess and play it by ear. But if I get down to that, I'm out of my last symptom of metabolic syndrome. I've corrected every symptom I've had of metabolic syndrome except for that. So that's the last one left, and I want to annihilate that. For general health reasons, I want to get healthier and healthier, and a lower waistline is one of the most important things to get. And a lower waistline is one of the most important things to obtain. So there's a lot of people who are searching for help out there. It's sometimes the reason why you're watching this video. We're trying to find our tribe. We're trying to find like-minded people. So there's people like me that you're checking out. I've gotten to a point where I've lost 150 pounds. So there's a lot of people who are like, hey, this guy might be worth listening to. And then there's other people you might want to check out, like Kelly Hogan, who's lost 125 pounds. She's kept it off for almost 20 years. It's pretty amazing, doing a low-carb and carnivore diet. Then there's other people like Dr. Ken Berry or Dr. Sean Baker, where you might look at these people and say, okay, these are professionals now. They're in the medical industry, and they're cutting edge, leading the way in this edge of nutrition. So this is something that isn't easily accepted by the main nutrition world or medical world. So these people, they're definitely leading the pack. They're the wolves leading the pack. And we want to pay attention to these people. We want to learn from these people. But sometimes what you're doing only gets you so far, and we have to go a little bit further and try different things. I typically recommend just do carnivore. Don't make it complicated. Just do regular carnivore. When that stops working and you've hit plateaus, not for 2 weeks or 2 months, but like more than 6 months, something else is going on. There's probably something underlying that's not working, and too many people focus just on diet. Maybe exercise is part of the issue. One of the best ways to lower insulin is with exercise, not just through diet. So you might have to up your game. Maybe there's an underlying pathology that needs to be addressed or corrected and also figured out. So who do you go to at that point? Well, you can check online with other people, like in certain Facebook groups, because they have lots of sections in their Facebook groups. You go to the search bar at the top of the group, whatever group you're in, and a long-running group like Zeroing In on Health on Facebook has a lot of topics that have been discussed over and over and over again for years. So there's a good chance if you're looking for a way to maybe fine-tune what you're doing, that's a good place to start. I have a Facebook group. It's newer. It doesn't have a lot of content that way. It was also a very specific Facebook group geared towards a high-fat, low-protein, or moderate-protein challenge. And it was a challenge I did for a few months, and a lot of people kind of wanted to jump on and check this out too, because they wanted to see how they could tweak and fine-tune their carnivore experience. Well, some people got great results with that, and some people still need to do more. I'm one of those people. So when I first went high-fat, I put on like 25 pounds. It was easy for me to put on 25 pounds, and I did it in a couple weeks. It's pretty amazing. And what happened was I initially lost 10 pounds very quickly, almost as fast as I put it on. And then the rest of it was a little slow going, but I eventually went down 10 pounds less than my original starting weight. Now, I also lost some lean mass doing that, so I wasn't too impressed because I purposely wasn't exercising, because I believe you will lose lean mass out of experience, mind you, not medical studies, out of experience. You will lose lean mass when you lose weight. Now, some people might argue that that is fat within the muscle that you're losing. Some people might argue it's water within the muscle. Either way, I know from my experience, anybody who lifts weights knows the heavier you are, the more you can push. Now, that's not just because you have more fat, it's because you have more muscle. So when you lose weight, you lose strength. They go hand in hand. That's the way it works. When people say you can't lose lean mass when you lose weight, in my opinion, they're focusing just on studies and what studies showed, and most of those are animal studies, and they're not focusing on real life. It's like college and university. And there's people who've gone through it and they're like, yeah, I lost a lot of muscle. I know I've done it myself. I've done lots of bod pod and DEXA scans, and I can see what happens when you lose weight. If you lose weight without exercising, you will lose lean mass. You will proportionally get skinnier and skinnier. What you want to do is convert that. I think that's what most people want. They want to convert some of that energy into lean mass, and they want to burn fat. So who do you go to when you're at a plateau? Who do you go to? Well, the most important thing to do is recognize you're in a plateau. Maybe you've tried different things here or there. Maybe you've tried low protein, high fat, low fat. Maybe you've incorporated some exercise, and maybe it's not the right exercise for you. What you want to do is figure out what the problem is. So who can you go to? Well, as I discussed earlier, you can't go to most doctors about this. You can't even go to most nutritional consultants about this. This is a new field of nutrition that hasn't been explored scientifically ever. It's only recently been getting explored scientifically. So you have to rely on some of these doctors online, and you have to rely on some of these more experienced people online. There's a handful of doctors out there that you can pay attention to online on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. Now, there are some doctors that aren't carnivore, but they're using carnivore in their title. Dr. Paul Saladino, he says he's a hyper carnivore. It sounds more strict, doesn't it? Hyper carnivore. But in reality, it's the weakest form of carnivore. It's just a meat-based diet. Now, I'm not judging anyone who wants to do that. If you want to do that, that's great. You're having a meat-based diet with lots of fruits and vegetables in there. That's fine. It's not for me to judge. But it's not a carnivore diet. The whole point of what a carnivore diet is a strict zero carb, fat, and protein diet. Is a hypercarnivore diet a clean diet? I think for most people, if they're being strict with it, absolutely, yes. But if you have sugar cravings, if you find you have difficulty starting a carnivore diet, or more specifically, maintaining a carnivore diet, which was my problem for a long time, I could start it lots of times, but I had trouble maintaining it in the beginning. And I got past that. I'm at the point where it's been well over 2 years, and I'm a strict zero-carb carnivore, not a lick, taste, or bite of anything off a carnivore diet. I can't afford to because I have a sugar addiction. Now, is sugar addictive? I'm not sure, but am I addicted to sugar? Absolutely. So there's a bit of a difference there. I understand. Just because sugar hasn't been proven to be addictive doesn't mean it's not addictive. So technically, it's not an addictive substance, but anyone who's been addicted to it knows what addiction is like. So, are you going to go do dirty things in a back alley for sugar? No. So maybe it's not at the same level of heroin, but when you do a carnivore diet, you will find you give in every time, just like a smoker. You give in every time. You give in to the slightest craving at any time of the day, and it screws you up. So there's people you can reach out to who are further along in that experience that you can sort of have as mentors or teachers or guides that can help you through your hurdles. And there's lots of different hurdles. There's starting a carnivore diet, then there's maintaining a carnivore diet, and then maybe there's trying to find better health on a carnivore diet. Maybe you need to fix your blood work a little bit better. Maybe you've hit plateaus, and this is where I am. So you need to go a little bit further and more, not necessarily strict, because I can't get any more strict with the carnivore diet, but start playing with ratios and start figuring out what it is that's holding me back from getting more gains on a carnivore diet. So what's one of the best ways to do that? At my point, I need to see a doctor. I'm currently starting with a new endocrinologist, and I'm hoping that we can figure out what's going on. Maybe it's my cortisol. Maybe I'm not getting enough sleep. Maybe it's an underlying pathology I'm not aware of. I feel pretty good day to day. My energy's off, but also my sleep is different now. So I'm adjusting to a new sleep schedule, but I'm technically getting more sleep, but it's still broken sleep. Instead of 6 hours of broken sleep a night, I'm getting 8 hours of broken sleep a night. But who can you turn to once you're at that point where you've gotten as far as you think you can go? You've tried a variety of different ways of doing carnivore, but you're still at this plateau. Well, there's coaching classes. You can reach out to these doctors and professionals. Kelly Hogan, as an example, is a professional coach. She does this for a living, and she's doing extremely well with it. She has a lot of loyal people. I'm one of them who go to her groups and learn. There's Steak and Butter Gal. There's lots of different people. You have to find a coach that you resonate with. Kelly Hogan, with me, is a coach that I resonate with because our stories are very similar. Someone who comes from a vegetarian or vegan background who never had an issue with weight might lean towards some other coaches out there, like maybe Steak and Butter Gal. But for me, Kelly's the person. Now, why would I listen to Kelly more than these other people? Kelly Hogan is an experienced, seasoned carnivore who has tried different things. She's already gotten to where she needs to, but she sees lots of people that are still struggling with carnivore who aren't getting the results. Why is that? Well, she's tried lots of different. She's trying to add more tools to her tool belt to try and help these other people. She's doing everything from higher fat, lower protein. She's starting to get into more exercising, which I think is a great message for people. She's done lots of different multiple meals through the day, intermittent fasting. She's done alternate day fasting with high fat and then protein other days, and then high fat and protein other days. A lot of different versions of carnivore out there through the year. She was strict lion diet originally without salt. Some people think salt is the end all be all and we need salt. We should get as much salt as possible. Maybe that works for you. Maybe it doesn't work so good for other people. There's certain salts that bother me, for example. If I go to McDonald's and I have burger patties, my nose gets scarred and crusty, almost like an eczema or psoriasis of some kind. Now, my dad has psoriasis. Maybe that's something I have that's sort of dormant in me. It didn't bother him when he was young, but it's bothering him now as he's older. He found aged salt, like in certain dishes like cured meats, or when you put salt in foods that you jar. He's not a carnivore, so when he has certain foods that are jarred and there's salt put in there in the process of the jarring, he finds that aggravates his psoriasis. When he goes without that salt, he's fine. He can have regular table salt, doesn't bother him. But when he has that kind of salt, it does bother him. Sounds weird. I thought it was weird, but then I went to zeroing in on health, and sure enough, it's a thing. But if you reach a plateau, what you need to understand and grasp is you got to do something. You don't want to stay stagnant in the area you're in. You don't want to stay there for a long time, especially if you're in a situation like I am, where I'm 320 pounds almost, and I have to lose some weight. This is not a safe place to be. You have to stop and assess and go, okay, what I've been doing isn't working. I need to try different things. Now, I've done some different things exercise-wise, and I've done some different things diet-wise, and I've done them in correlation with each other and separate from each other in case cortisol is an issue. So I'm at the point now where I'm seeing an endocrinologist to see what else might be going on underneath the surface. And maybe you might need a coach. Maybe you might need to see your doctor. You don't necessarily have to tell your doctor what you're doing, because I can almost guarantee he won't agree. But you might need to talk to your doctor about getting some blood work done, finding out what might be out, maybe seeing a hormone specialist, maybe talking to Dr. Barry, or going to some of these websites to try and figure out what it is that's holding you back from maybe your last 10 or 15 pounds, or maybe something as extreme as your last 80 pounds, like what I'm dealing with. I find a lot of people in the carnivore community are trying to solve all their problems through just diet alone. It's not necessarily realistic, is it? You need to do more movement, and you might need to lower your protein a little bit more temporarily. I'm a big fan of higher protein, more important than high protein or low protein. I think it's more important that you find your sweet spot with protein. If you're more active, you might need more protein, because protein is a great building block. Now, you're probably going to have a lot of fat in your diet anyway doing a carnivore diet, but maybe you might need a little more fat with that. But protein is something we all have to figure out, and it's different for everyone. I'm going to make another video on this sometime about how you can't project what worked for you on other people. It doesn't work that way. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes you can offer advice, but it doesn't mean it's going to work. So when you're dogmatic about doing one thing or another when it comes to carnivore, you got to keep in mind what worked for you doesn't work for someone else. There's a lot of people out there who insist salt is the way. Well, I know other people who it doesn't work if they add too much salt into their diet. So the main message from this is, when you hit a wall, ask for help. Don't be a hero. Show some humility and try and reach out to people. Maybe you need some coaching. Maybe some of these seasoned coaches or doctors who've been doing this for a while or have a lot more training than you do can tweak what you're doing and help you out. Maybe it's just something that you have to do that's just a slight shift in what you're doing, and then that does it. Maybe it's a 15-minute brisk walk after every meal. Maybe that alone can have powerful results. So give that a shot. That's just a suggestion. There's hundreds of thousands of suggestions out there. You need to find the ones, not the one, but the ones that work best for you. Thanks a lot and take care. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe.